Oh, my head's
So tense. There you go.
okay. I'll just scrunch down. Good evening, brothers and sisters. Once again, Marilyn Wallen and Julene Shelley, and we are talking about, or giving another segment of the Sixth Ward Preparedness. This one is called Hush Little Baby or Rockabye Baby. We couldn't decide, but we went with Hush Little Baby. How would we care for an infant, and what do we need to have with us for preparation in case our usual sources are available? The very best nutrition for an infant, of course, is breast milk, and that is extremely convenient in any kind of an emergency. When that is not necessary, you might run out of Similac or the soy formula that you use. There are some homemade formulas. In fact, in the day, the only infant formula that was available was not much like mother's milk. It was a formula that you made yourself, usually from boiled water. Our tap water is safe, pretty much, unless there's an emergency with the water supply, in which case you'd use boiled water. You use evaporated milk. Now, don't get it mixed up with the other sweetened condensed milk that has a lot of sugar in it. That would not be what you want to use. You want evaporated milk or canned milk, it's also called by a lot of people. It needs to be the full fat variety. Fat is very important for the development of the brain in these little ones. The brain is developing rapidly in the first 5 years of life, although they are telling us it takes till 25 till we're mature, which I'm way mature. So you use a 12-ounce can of this to an equal amount of water. So you'd have 13 ounces of the water, 13 ounces of this, and then you add 2 tablespoons of sugar, or you can use light carob syrup. And that provides a formula that will sustain an infant just fine. Now, if you have a baby that does not tolerate the lactose in the milk and has been on a soy formula, one thing that will work is a rice-based formula. For that formula, you would probably need power to do a blender, because you use 1 cup of cooked rice, cooked white rice. If you use cooked brown rice, that will be a little more nutritious. And then you have to put it with the 1 cup of the rice that's cooked with 4 cups of water and 2 tablespoons of granulated sugar, or of course you can use the corn syrup. And you have to blend that for at least 5 minutes to get it in small enough particles that it actually, I guess will go through a bottle. You need to be prepared with whatever infant supplies you think you will need. It might include a pacifier, an extra one, because I know that there can be a great state of emergency over a lost pacifier. Opening the canned milk, this is the best. What do they call this? Some kind of a key? Can't remember. Anyway, this is what you do. You open one side all the way down with a big hole. Then you need a little air hole on the other side. And then this pours out just nicely. You might manage also with a regular can opener. And speaking of things that come in cans, you want to have your manual can opener available always. I have a daughter-in-law that had never used a manual can opener. All she'd ever used was an electric one. So we need to be prepared on some of these really ordinary things. The other issue with an infant is, what are you going to do with diapers? Well, I just did an experiment. I went to one of our local markets where I could have purchased probably 1,000 packages of various baby diapers. I had to round up a clerk who had to round up another clerk to find a cloth diaper for me. And there were 8 little packages of cloth diapers down on the bottom, and they looked real gauzy. They're not, I don't know how well they'd hold up, but they would dry quickly being out of gauze. Anyway, I'm going to show you some of the things you may need to do with diapers. This is a brand new pack that we've had in our emergency supplies. We don't have babies around unless they're great grandbabies, but anyway, we found this on a bargain. It looks like it says woohoo $6.64. This is Gerber's cloth diapers, flat bird's eye. Bird's eye is a kind of fabric, and this is beautiful. Well, these are kind of thinnish too. Anyway, how do you fold this to go on a baby? Well, I'll show you here on our pretty pink and blue background that doesn't show. You take a square diaper, lay it out like this, and then you put it into kind of a kite shape. One corner in here, another in here. Is that showing up?
Mm-hmm.
And then you fold this down, and you fold this up, and then you pin it on the little one. Okay, now washing, that's another issue. So we will talk about how you can launder clothes when you don't have a washing machine, when all you have is a bucket and a plunger gizmo, but it works. So these would need to be laundered somehow in between uses and put up to dry. And this bird's eye is nice and light and should dry quickly. You can also just use flannel, and some diapers come in a rectangular shape, or you can make these out of flannel for your supply. Okay, you take that and you just fold it like in thirds, like this, and then it goes on the little one with all 4 corners pinned around his waist. Now they also have, and again, this takes a while to find it. In the sewing department, you can find what's called diaper pins, and they're supposedly a little safer for a baby. I don't know why for sure, but they have a plastic covering here. And that, if you want to be real authentic here with your childcare, you could use a diaper pin for your safety pins on the corners. So we've got 2 ways to fold. You can make do with any shape of diaper, and the flannel should dry fairly quickly if you're lucky. Then there's also a diaper just like this that used to be available, and I'm sure you could find it on the internet. Again, it's made out of the bird's eye fabric, but it has an extra section to absorb. And again, you just pin it on the baby like this. And you can use regular safety pins, of course. And every good little emergency kit does need some safety pins in it, right? Okay. Then another issue that can arise with adults, children, and infants is vomiting or diarrhea. And vomiting means that intake is not going to be normal. They can also lose some of the electrolytes that are in the gastric juices, or if they're throwing up bile, they're losing a lot of things. Then if anyone of any age has diarrhea, you've also got a problem with fluid loss there. And either of those or a combination of throwing up and the other will give you excessive fluid loss. And so I'm going to tell you about the rehydration fluid that you can make at home and give small amounts every hour. And hopefully this will replace some of the electrolytes that are lost. It will also provide a few calories and help counteract, in the third world nations, diarrhea from any reason, often bacterial, can cause the death of little ones. So this is a rehydration fluid recipe. You want to use a liter of water, which is 34 ounces. You add 1/2 teaspoon of table salt. And it's okay, whatever kind of table salt you use, it's fine if it's iodized or not, won't matter. And 6 teaspoons or 2 tablespoons of sugar. And on any of these recipes, you could, in place of sugar, you could use the light Karo syrup. Just FYI, if baby formula is causing constipation, you can use dark Karo syrup. And somehow that helps promote elimination. If you have a baby that's not got diarrhea, but has the opposite problem. So that's kind of our infant care. And then you'll also want to have on hand the ordinary things that you're using for the child. Maybe you're doing fluoride drops or vitamins. You'd want to have those. And you'll want the usual, the powder, the lotion, whatever you need, diaper cream. In the old days, mothers used cornstarch. There was no Desitin in those days. So cornstarch. And then another thing that's probably not highly recommended, but it's how our grandmas got by with babies who were terribly colicky, which we nowadays know is just plain reflux. They're having terrible heartburn and they're in pain. And that was, you put a tiny pinch of baking soda, which is alkaline, and that counteracts the acid in the tummy and may help. But it's better to have gas drops if you can too. And any medication recommended for the baby by the physician. Also have on hand some baby Tylenol. Tylenol for the whole family is a good idea. Then one other thing, we never ever use honey on infants. The reason being, many honeys will have a few spores of botulism. And that in an infant whose system is so tiny and their immunity is not up, fully developed by any means, they will get an infant botulism possibly, and that will affect their sucking and their swallowing. It affects neuromuscular. Anyway, it's like getting Botox. But so the botulism babies can be very ill. It's not fatal if they have medical care. I've taken care of a couple infants who have needed to be on a ventilator because their breathing muscles were affected and temporarily paralyzed. So no honey for babies, no honey on pacifiers, and no raw honey. It's okay if it's in a cooked product maybe, but honey is not advised till after age 1. So anything to add, Julie?
Good information.
So thank you for watching Hushabye Baby, and hope you'll join us for some other segments in upcoming days. And we will also have written information that would have these recipes for the formula or the rehydration drink that you can give. Thank you very much for joining us. Good night. Thanks, Julene.
You're welcome.